Hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome to Harness the Shift podcast. This is a space where we explore personal transformation, conscious leadership, and the journeys of people who are doing the inner work and bringing that awareness into how they live, lead, and serve. I am your host, Jay. All right, let's see who's joining us today.
Human beings, no matter what stage of life that they're in or at what point that they're in, that we have the ability to be resilient, right? We have the ability to overcome, and that our choices and our thoughts make it either easy or hard, right? Because this is like it's really a mental world that we're in, and if we can clear our thoughts and our minds, that's why it's so important, in my personal opinion. If you can have a moment of silence, connect with higher power, do some meditation, and just give yourself some space to connect with, what's most important to you in life, then it makes everything flow by so much easier. So in my perspective, I think that we have the ability, everybody has the ability to bounce back. It's about whether or not they're ready to make the choice to do so.
Hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome to Harness the Shift podcast. My name is Jay and I am your host. On today's episode, I'm so excited that I get to interview a friend of mine, Andrea Cruz. We've known each other since 2015. I met her through a mutual friend. Andrea is a licensed clinical professional counselor who helps people build resilience, improve their mental health, and create lasting change. You can learn more about Andrea and her work on her Headway profile linked in the podcast description. All right, let's get into it. Yes, I'm so excited. Hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome to Harness the Shift. I'm Jay. I'm your host, and today I am joined. I'm joined today with an amazing person. I've known her for about 10 years. Andrea Cruz from Long Beach. By the way, Big Bear, California is in the house. How are you, friend? I'm so excited.
Oh, I'm so well, and I just want to say I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me on. And I remember when you incepted this idea, and now we're here in full bloom and full fruition of this dream that's come true for you. This
I
passion.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. And during that it was rocky a little bit. It was like I was trying to find my way. Who are the people that I want to interview? Where am I going? Right? Where am I going in this journey? And is it this crowd or is it that crowd? So finding that out and really just coming to the where I'm at now, it's like it's really cool. It's really cool
Yeah.
to be here and this place and interviewing some amazing people like yourself. We just got done introducing you in the intro, so people are familiar that you are a therapist. And so I want to get to the human behind the title first because
Let's.
that's my jam.
Yep.
So share with me, Andrea. Well, I know your story, but share with my listeners, our listeners here on Harness the Shift, who Andrea was before she became the therapist.
I was a hot mess.
I love it. I love it.
Who I was before I honestly felt like there was a little bit of therapist always in me, because I've always had an interest in the healing journey, and just curiosity. Like, I've always loved God, right? I've always loved prayer. I've always loved deep interest. I felt like I was a deep diver always. And even within all the chaos of my life and all of the patterns that I had been in, either sometimes self-destructive or sometimes really reflective and sometimes pensive, that we come to a point in our lives when we have to evolve, when we have to choose and recognize, hey, what addictive patterns or choices are going on within inside of me, and how am I going to level up? Because I can't be a victim forever. Eventually I've got to be the hero of my story. And so how do I make that happen? So it took a lot of internal work to get to the place that I'm where I'm at right now. And all I have to say is I'm nowhere near done. I still have more to go. Like there's still more. I feel like I'm the forever student, and although I carry the title, which I honor very much, of being a licensed and marriage family therapist, I'm always going to be the student. So to me, it's like, I thank God, I thank Creator, I thank Jesus for this path. And now I get a chance to share it and be open about it and be vocal about it and encourage others along the way. So to me, it's a license to love people. It's a license.
I love that.
It's a license to encourage people. It's a license to empower people. Like, I don't see it as any different as that society has. I've taken classes, I've passed the test, and now I've collected my hours, and now I get to love people in a way in which they'll accept the love and the encouragement. And to me, it's just the biggest honor and the biggest blessing.
I love that. I
Thank
love
you.
that. And that's the goal, right? To learn in this journey we call life, this human experience, is to learn unconditional love. And what you're describing is just that you have an unconditional love for people,
That's
and
right.
you see their potential, and you want to facilitate that, like help them navigate it to get to where they're going. It's such a cool thing, right?
I think so. I think
such
so.
such a cool time to be alive, where we're seeing so many people that are stepping into their journey. And I know I've been on a long road. I don't even recognize who I was 7 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, like even 6 months ago. It's always like just stepping it up. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's amazing that you always want to be learning, because that's something I always say here on Harness the Shift, is to be open to any and all information,
Cool.
because if you can change the way you think, sometimes that can
Yeah.
pivot you
Yeah.
into that. So it's like this follow the breadcrumbs kind of thing.
Yeah.
Follow that, and try to be patient as God unveils things. And he sure is unveiling some things with regard to people and what their purposes are. I've learned something every day from guests that I have on my podcast, and I'm so grateful for it. What originally sparked your interest in understanding people and the human mind?
And, again, I feel that if I didn't have an interest to heal myself, and really that's almost why I went into humanistic existentialism, because my question has always been why? Why? Why do people act the way they do? Good, bad, ugly, or indifferent? Why? Why do people think it's okay to harm a child? Why do people think it's okay to act this way? And what drives people to make better choices? And how can the healing process begin? And how can the healing process begin within myself? And so it was a lot of breaking down of understanding of humanity. I feel like I've always been able to sort of observe. I've been an observer of humanity for quite a long time myself, how I interact with others and how others interact with me, and how others interact with other people. People watching is like probably still like one of the most fascinating things. I could never get bored of it. Like
Me either.
people say I'm
I love
bored.
it. I love
How
it.
could you be bored? There's a million different people out there to watch. Surprises me.
I love it. I love to sit back and observe. Like, that is something that has been, I think I've always been a people watcher, but in this space where I've done the healing, it's different. Watching people, it's different. It's not a place of judging other folks. It's from a place of trying to understand.
Yeah, yeah, understanding. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
just an under. Yeah,
feel like I've only touched the iceberg. I'm like, I feel like there's so much more. Like I can learn so much more from people. And if you think about it that way, if there's a little bit of God in all of us, if
Mm-hmm.
God dwells in here, then aren't you learning from God? Like
So true.
in some way or fashion or another, like people are very interesting.
They are interesting. And it's it's also cool, I think, in this space, right, where the therapy space and the coaching space, because people they have choices, which is cool, right? So it's not there's that just totally blows the myth that's out there that you have to be the end all be all to everybody, which is not true. And that we're in competition with each other. That is not true, because you have a different layer of perception
Yeah.
and perspective from from your lived experience, and the people that gravitate towards that, right? And it goes for everybody, right?
Yes.
So with that, we have the therapists and we have the coaches. So how, from your perspective, how does that work together? Because I think it's not something that's competing. And I think there's a misconception that there's this competing, and there is no competition there, right? They serve two
Mm-hmm.
different purposes.
Yeah, no, it's actually a really good topic to bring up in regards to the difference between therapists, licensed clinicians, and coaches. And to be honest, sometimes I'm a little envious of coaches because they can find a niche topic and they can market themselves, and they can really operate from a place of authenticity. Not to say that you cannot be an authentic licensed clinician. That's probably why I lean more towards the humanistic, existential, and gestalt, because that modality kind of takes away those old references of countertransference and transference, like that previous idea that you have to be the blank slate. You have to sit there, tabula rasa, that's what they call it, the blank slate in Latin, and hear somebody and be sort of like the person on the ledge. Now we have realized that in order to be a therapist, you have to be a human, right? That's kind of why I've
Right.
gravitated towards that orientation. And the best therapy is the one in which you've established a great relationship, a healthy therapeutic alliance, they call it, with another human being. And so the coach has that. And I think great clinicians have that, but the coach has to show up and be themselves. And some of the things that they get to do, the therapists, not necessarily as part of their job thing, is they get to tell people exactly what they think, right? And tell people exactly what they think they should do. Whereas a therapist, we have a little like, hey, you know, there's a little bit more regard into the individual's process, right? And the individual then has the ability to make those choices for themselves, right? And not necessarily have to listen to someone's either solicited or unsolicited advice, because therapy is more or less geared to guide and also to encourage and to reflect and I mean, not to say coaches can't do that. I'm sure they could, but they also don't have, the standard of law and ethics that is legally prescribed to the licensed clinician by the state, federal government, whatever, right?
Right. Right.
However,
Right.
the great thing about and I work with coaches and friends of mine are coaches, but the great thing about becoming a coach is, especially there's people who go about getting their coaching license, right? Or their coaching certificate, then they're adhering more to a certain standard of care, right?
Yes.
And that's really important because it's our job to do no harm to people. And sometimes we don't realize the way in which we might unintentionally be projecting. And it's happened, right? People project
Absolutely.
themselves onto others, especially when they see themselves in someone else, you
Yeah.
know? And then they're thinking, oh, you got to do this and you need to do that. And all of those things come to mind, right? And
Right.
it's important to remember that this isn't about you and your life decisions. This is about them and their life decisions,
Yes.
right? And so taking ourselves out of the equation. So that's just a little difference that, I could kind of shine light on when it comes to good therapy and good coaching and good treatment overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting that you say that you do work with coaches because Andrea was the one that introduced me to my coaching instructor, Daniel Alexa, and he's going to be on the podcast someday. I don't know exactly when we're supposed to meet. We've been trying to tie up, but
I
he's an
love him.
amazing coach.
I
He's an
respect him.
amazing coach.
Yeah.
I respect him. He has such a phenomenal well, he's got a book out about practicing manifestation. He's just very wise, and
Very wise.
I
And he's a
really enjoyed his.
hypnotherapist.
Yeah,
Yes,
and he's a hypnotherapist too, which is
that's cool.
amazing. So there's
Amazing.
another layer there, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked him about that was when I was still in Florida. I was like, well, what? I go, I think he actually went to, oh gosh, where was it? I think somewhere in Orlando is where he did his training. So I was asking him about their program. And then I didn't get into it. But I do have some interest in it. I think it's fascinating. I find it a very fascinating field. So who knows? You never
Yeah.
know.
You've got
I'm
to do it
always a
one day.
student too. So I'm
Yeah.
always trying to learn something. So you've worked in several environments, Andrea, schools and treatment centers, outpatient programs and
Yes.
rehab settings. So how did those experiences shape your understanding of people?
Well, one thing that I am quite aware of is that human beings, no matter what stage of life that they're in or at what point that they're in, that we have the ability to be resilient, right? We have the ability to overcome, and that our choices and our thoughts make it either easy or hard, right? Because
Yeah.
this is like it's really a mental world that we're in. And if we can clear our thoughts and our mind, that's why it's so important, in my personal opinion, right? And professional, I would say, if you can have a moment of silence, connect with higher power, do some meditation, and just give yourself some space to connect with, what's most important to you in life, then it makes everything flow by so much easier. So, in my perspective, I think that we have the ability, everybody has the ability to bounce back. It's about whether or not they're ready to make the choice to do so.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It is a choice because I can say that from experience. There's been many times that it's like, "Hello, let's go," and it's like, I'm not really ready right now." So I get that. I get that, and I know folks struggle with that, where they're just like, I'm not ready to change, or I'm not
Mm-hmm.
ready to remove myself from." Maybe they're not really conscious of it, but they've got that inner dialogue going, and then
Right.
all of a sudden it comes that, whoa, I really need to make a change here. What does that look like? And how it may look very scary to some folks. And so I think with that, what would you say to those folks that maybe like, I know I need to make a change, but I'm just like, I'm frozen here. I don't know what to do. I know I need to do something, but I really don't know what to do. What would be the best advice that you would give that person?
I think this is a really good question because it does make me reach into the many sessions that I've had with people who have come to me in a desperate moment and when they're really feeling stuck, and they're starting to ask questions of themselves, of me, kind of like searching and seeking some advice. my encouragement is always, right, because this is the most important aspect of anything, like, in my opinion, right, before I even get to reflect on that question with you, it's about this is the holistic practice. It's closing your eyes, taking a deep breath, connecting with something higher than yourself, exhaling, staying in the breath, and then sharing your gratitude statement. In my perspective, if we're not sitting in our gratitude, if we're not finding something that we can hold on to that's good in this moment, how are we going to make the shift, right? So it's really about making the shift. And then the other thing is everything can change.
Big time.
Everything
Hello.
can change. Everything can change.
Hello.
Exactly. And then you're like that beacon of light right now. Like you're
Yeah.
that beacon of light that
Yeah.
said I was here and now I'm here, and really it's just like those, even just a hand gesture like here is like almost like being closed off to awe, being closed off to the miraculous, being closed off to the possibilities, the potential of life. And if we can get to here, right, not only are we open to all the good that could be there, but we're opening our hands to what else is there, right?
Yeah.
Being in awe, in my opinion, is like returning back to this state of a child in their wonder, in their amusement, in their interest, in their vigor. And so, what I always remind people is it might be dark and gloomy and stormy in this moment. You might be having suicidal thoughts right now. But guess what? A week from now, everything could change. And isn't that everything worth experiencing? Because then you could say, you know, I've come from here and now life is different, right? We've gone to the
Absolutely.
depths of hell and now we're reaching to the heights of heaven, right? It reminds me of the song.
Absolutely.
Started from the bottom, now we're here, right?
Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. No, I love it. I love some music. I'm like, we need to jam out, have a good old time up in here. Yeah, it is. It's so true, right? Like we get back to that, be in awe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when I was doing the planes, trains, and automobiles, you met me when I was at the height of the planes, trains, and automobiles, and coming out to LA and
Yeah.
out there for 2 weeks and back in
Yes.
Florida on the East
Yeah.
Coast for 2 weeks.
I
And I
saw
did
that.
that for 3 years.
Right. Boss
And I
babe.
did
Over
that
here.
from, yeah, 15 to 18. There were times I would go for hikes and stuff. Yeah. But I didn't connect to nature like I do now. And so this whole thing about humanistic and our creator's given us this amazing earth, and there's so many amazing things to see, and that's part of the whole vision, right, is to have these retreats where it's immersion into nature. And you live up in Big Bear, and I'm hoping one day we can have a retreat up there because it's amazing up
I
there. It's
know
beautiful.
the exact spot. Whenever anyone says that, I know the place.
Yeah,
Whenever
it's
you're
amazing.
ready. Whenever you're ready, and it's so close by to my house.
Big Bear is beautiful, and there's an area up there that you took me to. Let's talk about that area because it's
I took
beautiful.
you to the Eye of God.
You did. You did.
Oh my gosh.
We went there. We went there. God, when was that?
Right, we drove up there. We didn't hike up
We
there.
drove up there, and it was September 24, I think.
Was it 24? It wasn't
Yeah,
25. Oh
I
my
think it
gosh.
was, yeah, it was a while ago.
It's been a year
And
and some
let me
change.
tell you, whoa.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about, to have experiences like that where your nervous system just melts
Yeah.
into the nature, right? And
Exactly.
that's how I've healed, and that's kind of my slice and my jam of what I'm creating, and then also co-creating, bringing in
Hmm.
folks like you and folks like the lady I just interviewed, and bringing folks like that in to just create a space of immense healing and hopefully transformation. So
Yeah.
that's my thing. I love the whole connecting people and facilitating.
Excited
because
for that
I
day.
know I don't know it all. I
Yeah,
don't know it all.
yeah,
I know what I know, but I don't know it all. And so I'm up in here. I'm busting myth about everything about, oh, you got to be the end all be all. No, you don't. You don't
no, you
need to
don't.
know everything. You only need to know what you know. And the other stuff, sure, you can always look into it and all of that. But at the end of the day, that's why we have, I mean, you got to be yourself,
Right.
but at the same time, serve who you can
Yeah,
with the wisdom that you have. And
right.
I don't like to call it niche. It's just, what's your specialization, right? Because you have psychology and then you got all of the other different psychologies on top of that. And I just love that whole transpersonal psychology piece of it, and the breath work and being in nature, and all of these amazing things, meditation and all of that. So I know in the future there's going to be some amazing retreats that are going to be had,
I
so
already
I'm
feel that.
excited about it.
I'm excited for that too. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I'm putting that forward.
Yeah, I forward. I think it's time. I think
Yeah.
it's time. So I'm going to definitely start working on that. So when you sit with the people that you serve and you hear their stories every day, what has that taught you about the human experience?
I think I would say what it's taught me is that, and I think I kind of touched on this before, is that when we have the ability to sit in our creative self, when we have the ability to allow for play to occur, when we can give ourselves over and give ourselves permission to doing the shadow work and allowing ourselves to go there, when there's a certain amount of surrender, is when we can really give ourselves the permission to start growing, right? Because as I mentioned, everyone has the ability to be resilient. Everyone has the ability to change to some degree, whether it's small steps, and really that's okay. Small steps is a great place to go, or many steps. And really it comes down to the mindset and the ability to surrender. So I think that would probably be the greatest ability, I would say, that a human has, because things can be dark, right? Especially when
Yeah,
men, women, children, they face the dark realities of this world.
yeah,
And they face, some would call them evils, but really, like, when somebody is experiencing either a perpetrator, a predator, somebody who has done them wrong, someone who has harmed them in some great capacity, we start to second guess ourselves. Like, we start to lose ourselves in the identity of of what this other person's malintentions have become. And we can unpurposely take on a projection identification. And really, what projection identification is, let's just say, from, a caregiver or parent, they've heard their whole life that, you're a loser and, you're a bad person. So what happens to that very malleable psyche, right? Because our minds
yeah.
are really like our temple, but it's also, our body is our temple, but our mind is like the engine or the software, right? And if we're programming it, these horrible thoughts and these negative things, because we're so malleable, we might take on that perspective. We might believe that to be true. We might take that projection and identify it, hence projection identification.
Right.
And that's why you see when kids, at a young age start getting in trouble and they call them a troublemaker, right? That you see kids start saying, I'm a troublemaker, so I'm going to go ahead and cause trouble. So it's
Yeah,
really important, the messages that we tell our minds, our kids, us as humans. Like, we need to be very conscientious of the information that we put inside of our heart, of our brain, of our reality, because it all makes
absolutely.
it all changes everything.
Which, and I know this is maybe off topic, so, but if you're cool with talking about it, like, what's going on with the social media, right? And how folks are just constantly, like with the
Yeah.
scrolling, and they're taking
Yeah.
in all of this stuff. And I know when I started to wake up and researching different things, it's so much information that you can kind of get to a point where there's like literally this induced psychosis in a way where you're like, too much information and the nervous system is just like taking hits, boom boom boom, one after the other. Cortisol is increasing, and your adrenaline and all of this adrenal fatigue. Talk
Right.
about that.
Yeah, for sure. I guess where I want to start with that is basically an understanding that when we have too much stimulation, right, on a nervous system level, like when we are constantly flooding ourselves with information from an outside source and we're scrolling too long, and or we're watching the news forever, or even we're watching too much TV, right, numbing starts happening, and studies have shown that we stop using our prefrontal cortex as much, right? And when that occurs, a lack of imagination occurs. There's statements being said for like the current youth and the generation that we have right now, that because they're so stimulated or overstimulated by the iPad, right? Their sense of creativity is declining, right? You remember when we were kids, and I'm putting myself in that Gen X
I love
millennial
it.
era,
And
I
I
mean,
accept you. I
yes, thank
accept
you.
you.
Thank you, because I mean, I literally could go both ways. Born
Oh, I'm telling
1980s,
you.
so I'll be the
Yes.
exennial. I'll be the exennial for
I
now,
love
but
it.
like I could relate to Gen X a lot
Yeah.
because I grew up without, iPhone. I grew up without pagers, and that was like the 90s anyway,
Yeah.
and without really computers. Like I remember going to elementary school and taking computer class, but we had that for an hour, and what we were playing, the Oregon Trail. Come on, like we were,
Yeah.
maybe doing Ram Dass coding, at the
Yeah.
very, at like, I don't know, like 8 or something, like the first Apple
Yeah.
computers that were out there. But what I could say about that was we had a wonderful imaginations. We would read books, we would have picnics, we would ride bikes, we would throw balls, we would climb trees, jump off of roofs and fences. And I got to live that all American life, like,
Yeah.
and it was such a wonderful thing. And now I see kids when they have a second without their damn iPhone or their damn iPad, that they're like screaming and crying and complaining. And I'm sorry, I just have to say this, parents think it's okay for kids to be raised by these damn computers. And I'm just thinking, not on my watch, I mean, God bless parents. I don't have any kids. I'm sure it's hard to raise kids in this world when you have to have a dual income for everything. God bless those kids, but it must be so hard these days to, be a parent. And then also, I'm kind of sad for this generation who are being raised by the damn
Yeah.
computers.
Yeah, it's something when you're out eating and
Mhm.
somebody like a mother pulls out the iPad to keep the baby like distracted, and it's like, you don't want to be judgmental, but at the same time you're like, "Oh, this isn't it." I don't look at it like from a judgmental lens. I look at it like, "Whoa," like,
Yeah,
cuz I know, like
yeah,
that's what I've done my entire life is study
yeah.
this mind thing, like
That's
what
cool.
makes us tick, what
Yeah.
makes human beings tick. And I think there's got to be something where we have to, well, I don't know whether it's more education or whether it's, I don't know, shut this thing down, 10 days of darkness. I
I
don't know
mean,
what it's going to do, but
it's
it's a
okay.
lot.
It's okay as a parent to not raise a kid with a phone. And I just want to invite parents to realize that, like, it's okay to say, hey, kiddo, go read a book right now. Call up your friend and see if they want to come over. Why don't you draw? You know, like if they're really asking, I
Yeah.
mean, there's so many ways. Like, I mean, I was so entertained as a kid. Like, you could tell me to go to my room and I could find something to do that I was the only child. So
Yeah.
I had a lot of imagination. So, I could always find something to do.
It was funny. A friend of mine was telling me,
Hmm.
my friend Beth, she is a
Hmm.
nanny and she
Hmm.
lives out in Delaware. She was telling me that she her the people that she's a nanny for actually gave their kids like old iPhones that were like on their last leg, and they kept like glitching and they were dying, and and they were finally like, we don't want these, we let's just color, or let's just, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my god, that's brilliant. It's
Yeah.
brilliant that the mother thought of that. Yeah, well, I can't depend on these
That's a good
electronic
point.
things.
I think that's smart.
Yeah, I think so too, because there's just so much out here where I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine being a parent, and you have all of these kids that have phones, and then you're being pressured to get your kid a phone. There's just like a lot of that societal pressure, but there's got to be, we know what the problem is, but what's the solution? And I'm all about that. That's one thing I want to do eventually, is do roundtables, think tanks where we could come up with different ways to
Yeah.
challenge, like to battle these things and find solution for these things, because we are progressing technologically. We have AI and all of these things, and so there's a lot of things going around that have been created or manipulated by AI, and it's like, is this real, is that not real? And so it, we just I think we just have to get to a collective point where we can kind of take a deep pause and breath, and I don't know what that looks like.
Well, look, and
I've
parents have
often thought
choice.
about it. Yeah.
In an ideal world, in my mind, like everyone would have their little community. Like if we
Yeah.
went back to some form of interdependence with
Yeah.
each other and everyone was locally connected to an actual community where there was like a doctor and, there was a teacher and there was, you know, um, some type of sheriff or officer and there was a farmer and there was a baker and
Yeah.
everybody had their place. This is just idealism, obviously.
Yeah.
And the kids could be raised in a community that they had, really learned from the village, and really took
Right.
interest in the community and, did the farming and did the planting and, and hung out with other kids and maybe taught another kid, like, maybe like a form of tutoring. And we have responsibilities of interdependence, right?
Yeah.
Because what
Yeah.
happened now is that we have all of these like nuclear families and maybe sometimes not even that, but community's so disconnected,
Yes.
unless you're part of a little village, unless you belong to something a little smaller, and then you have the opportunity to like maybe then, have a certain amount of indebtedness and communication and interpersonal relationships with each other, because that would be a really rich culture to bring up a child in, which is why, like, you know,
Absolutely.
I love the idea of moving to Hawaii.
I you know I am a Gen Zer, and I'm not saying we're perfect. I'm not saying that, but I think times were different, and life was a little bit easier than it is now. So we got to find a sweet spot with
Yeah.
this, because I think we've gotten a little bit out of control. I think maybe awareness is the thing, and getting parents more aware of what it is and what it looks like. Because
Right.
look, if you have somebody that wasn't around during those times, and they're having kids, and they're used to doing the whole technical, iPads and such, or they grew up on it, you got that going on. So
Yeah. Yeah.
lots of things to sit back and kind of think about and try to find some strategies on how to maybe not solve, but mitigate.
Right. I'm with that.
Yeah, I'm all about mitigating because I don't know if all problems can be completely solved, but we can mitigate things. And those that want to choose to do something different, then there's that option. But yeah, I agree with that. And definitely not out of judgment. I think it's more so out of potential, right?
Yeah.
The potentials being kind of what am I trying to say here? When there's so much of this constant electronics and things like that, um, it just doesn't allow for the brain to just chill,
Right. Right.
right?
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
you're constantly stimulated.
Absolutely.
It's yeah, it's just it's there comes time where maybe nature can mitigate that. Getting out in nature, allowing your kids to play in the dirt. I played in the
Yeah.
dirt. I
Yeah.
played in the sand.
I love the dirt. I love the sand. I love the sea. I love the ocean. I used to my summers were spent
Seesaw.
like, oh, that's so great. Were spent in the pools, like, or at the beaches,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's something about nature. It really keeps you connected, it keeps you grounded, it keeps you um grateful. Like
Yeah.
you want to talk about being a kid. I went through I went through Zion on my way to Florida in
Cool.
November. And when I was there, I literally was like in awe.
Cool. Cool. I've always wanted to go to Zion. That sounds like so much
What?
fun. I love that.
Oh my God. It was so the energy, just the sounds in that park, the way things just are so beautiful and
Wow.
massive and you're just like, oh my God, it's like you're in a different world.
Super cool.
And it's truly like it's emotionally evoking,
Wow.
and it just takes you back where you can just being in awe and finding something so grand, right? Remember when
Yeah,
you're a
yeah.
little kid and you're like, you see some of these grand things, you're like, that's
Yeah.
so amazing. So
Oh yeah.
nature can have that effect sometimes. I think my next place I want to go is Yosemite.
Oh, cool.
I've not been.
I haven't been either. We
I
should go.
so want to go.
Let's go.
I think we're going to go as soon as the
Okay.
RV. I'm
Okay.
like, as soon as I want to take this show on the road, and I'm like, that's a place.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. I haven't been
Yeah,
there.
I want to take the show on the road and like go from place to place to place and like interview people in person. I
Oh my
think there's
gosh.
another thing we're sitting here talking about this technology thing, but I'm like more of I want to see your mug. Let's sit
Yeah.
down and
Yeah.
let me feel the energy and
Yeah.
and 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 talk to people face to face. I think that's such an important thing
That would be
to
fun.
really get the conversation going.
Let's do that before the end of this year. Let's go to
I
Yosemite.
think yes, we're going to
Yeah.
do it.
I
We're
gotta
going
go.
to do it. We're going to
I gotta go. I'm
manifest that.
excited. Well, because
Yes,
I've never
I
been.
know. I know
Oh,
Yosemite, and I don't know, maybe just pull people off the street and ask questions or
yeah,
go
for
ask
sure.
questions or
That might be fun.
another thing. I'm like, Andrea's from the LBC. You know what I'm talking about when I say boardwalks. Like, why not go down to Venice Beach and be like, "Hi,
Oh, that would be
what is
fun.
your?" I know it would be fun, stuff
Yeah.
like that. So many ideas, many
Cool.
ideas. But
Cool.
so what's next? What else are you doing, and
Few things.
what's next for Andrea and your journey?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for asking that because I really feel like there's so much going on and it really
Yeah.
took me being in this like lull, in this place of like okay, I had things, some things that I chose to have taken away from me and some things that got ripped away from me and like the last few months, like I really feel like there was like, not to be cliche, but the shedding of the skin of the
Mhm.
snake season, right? and kind of like stepping into a full leap and a gallop in this horse season, talk about like, Chinese calendar and all of that stuff. But I really did feel like, and this is my meaning making process in this, because I feel that everything is working for my highest good and the good of others around me, that it was time for me to like step into something that has always been in alignment for me, and something that I've been planning for quite some time, which has been to open a group practice, but not just any group practice, a practice that gives everyone the opportunity regarding affordability to be able to get group coaching or individual coaching at an affordable level, even if you don't have insurance, but also something highly interactive. So that's something that I'm working on with a group of people. I'm bringing Daniel along with me and a few other of my friends that have collected along the way, who've been in the space of helping others and being of service to others, because that's really what, like I feel that calling to be, is like, I don't necessarily need to go out and on social media like blast all my opinions and values, but what I feel a calling to do is to help the individual, ascend to their next stages in their life. Like that's my in the trenches doing the work with people. So if I can do that on a greater platform, all the better. But at the end of the day, like all of the work and the proceeds and everything that I'm, going to be accumulating because of this God's work that I'm doing, it's going to go back into helping the children. And that's really like my evergreen plan, is that I want to help the foster youth. I want to help the at-risk youth. I want to help the kids that don't have a safe place and give them a safe place to grow, not be ridiculed, abused in any form or fashion, but that they can grow and develop themselves as time evolves, right? Because that's the thing, that there's always a lot of insecurity in regards to these children. Are they going to like me? I remember when I was at my very first role as a clinician, first couple of roles, my very first role as a clinician, which I like humbly thank, was a company, Center for Discovery, that worked with at-risk youth, teenagers from the ages 11 to 17 who were co-occurring in addiction. And I remember this moment, when I held this girl's hand who was really wanting her drug, and her connect was right down the street in Naples, which is a very nice area in Long Beach, not far from the Under the Bridge AA meeting that we were going to. And she booked it. And she, right after the van, and her and I were close. We had been doing some work. She'd had a lot of PTSD. Her uncle was abusing her and pimping her out. And so I ran after her. At the time, I was training for triathlon, so she thought she could outrun me. So I was running alongside with her, and she's like, Miss, just let me go. I'm just gonna go use really quick, and I'll be right back. And I was like, no, that's not today. So I remember running alongside of her and letting her know she could make another choice. This was therapy on the run, literally, right?
I love it. Woo! All right. Yeah.
I'm here for you.
I love it.
And literally she tried to climb the fence, and obviously we had practiced like like safe restraints, like, and obviously I was like cradling her, and she started like punching herself, and I was like, no, don't do that. Like I had to restrain her. So we called in 5150, and I remember I was asked to be in she asked me to be in the ambulance with her. She was getting escorted, and she asked to hold my hand. She didn't think I was going to call, for the police to get her the help that she needed. And she held my hand and she asked for prayers. And every year on that anniversary, I would get a phone call from her. Thank you for saving my life. Thank you for praying for me. And, and it was like I got a chance to see that just being there for somebody in their darkest moment was a catapult. And every year she was sober. And then Another time, fast forward into the foster youth program when I was working with IFCCS, and it was Penny Lane and in the city of Commerce, which was really hard and dark. I remember seeing kids being moved around all the time, and they didn't have a safe place to go. They didn't know if they were going to get kicked out, if they were going to get abused, if the group home was going to like them. So that's my goal, is to give these kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tangent.
And I think there needs to be more reverence for children. I think that we need to, as collectively as a society, we've got to, it's time to wake up. It's time to like dial in and, you know, protect the most vulnerable.
That's right.
It really truly is, because
100%.
I mean, and there's a lot of revelations that are coming up, coming out, and I don't want to get too much into that, but I mean, we can do that for a different podcast, but it's pretty stunning, and we just have to, dial it in a little bit and hold folks with reverence and have faith that, accountability. I always say there's a season of accountability and it's approaching.
Yeah.
And you can see it if you are awake and you are paying attention and you're not getting sucked into this division thing. You can see there is a season of accountability. I'm going to say it again. It's happening. I can see it, and it's coming faster than we know it.
Good. Thank God. We need it.
And you can that comes from a higher authority. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And
the kids need it.
That just can't go on.
No.
That kind of stuff cannot go on in a civilized society.
No.
I understand the history. I understand, but no.
No. Yeah. We gotta lay it on the line. We gotta do what we can. We gotta protect these kids.
Yeah.
Like it's all of our responsibility.
Well, they really are. I mean, and I don't want to be cliche, but they are the future. This is the future. Yeah. And,
exactly.
we if we all do our part in our local, in our local communities, if we all do our part and we get involved, and we don't sit back and say, well, I don't have any kids either, but I have a piece that I can contribute to this. That's where I can move the needle. And we do need to start caring, because they are our future and they have so much potential.
Yeah.
And we have got to get to that point. And I think times are changing. I'm an optimist and I'm a visionary. So
exactly. Well, God bless you, Jay, for doing this work, for giving us all a voice.
Ooh. Harness the ship, because I see it. And that's what this whole thing, harness the ship, this podcast is. I see that. I sit back, I observe more than I speak, I observe more than I say, and I can truly say that I feel like there is the ship. And most people that are kind of feeling that, see it too, that are doing the work. And it's like you're given the eyes to see, right? And you travel the path that's less traveled, and the path is narrow for a reason. I hope to get people more so on the path.
That's
get
wonderful.
On the path.
Yeah.
Get on the path. Hallelujah.
Yes.
I want to get people, maybe I have a tendency in this life to be kind of a dragger. Like, I'm going to drag you onto the path, damn it. Let's go.
That is so cool. I love that mission that you have, honestly, Jay. I'm so excited, and I thank you so much humbly for you encouraging me and pushing me onto the podcast, because I want to be here anyway, and I love it. I love communicating with you, and I really love our growth that we've got to see this, together, like this, raising each other up, and this empowerment and the love that we share for each other. It's been fascinating to watch.
It has been fascinating. And you look at it like retroactive, right?
Yeah.
Retrospectively,
Right.
and you look at it and it's like, oh, wow,
I
now I
know.
get it, right? It's like
Yeah.
we're as human beings, I gotta be in control. I gotta know
Right.
where we're going, what's going on. And it's like, no, just be cool with not knowing what the hell's going on and let God take control a little bit. And you never know what magic like unfolds. That's what
That's right.
magic is all about. It unfolds. Everything
True.
that you just didn't know, right? It's these
Right.
silver linings in life, and it's such
Love
an
that.
amazing experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you.
Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
You're
So,
so
if folks resonated with what you had to say today and they want to find out more about you, where can they find you on social media? And if you have a website or any of that information, where can they find you?
Yeah. So, so my new platform is Volare Counseling, VOLARE counseling.com. I'm also under Instagram at Andrea underscore Cruiser, double ZER underscore LMFT. Yeah. And also on Headway is where I'm doing my individual sessions right now. And I'm pretty sure you have those links, and if you
I
don't,
do.
I'll send them over to you.
I do. And like I always do, I put it in the description of the podcast. So if you want to get in touch with Andrea, all her information will be in the description, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on Spotify. We're eventually going to get on Apple Podcasts, but right now we're on those two platforms. And so yeah, and make sure that you go and give Andrea a follow. And
Thank you.
I am so glad that you came on. This has been
Thank you
great.
for
And I want to
having me.
have you on again, obviously, because
Yeah, yeah.
I have so much respect for you, Andrew. I think that
Oh,
you are such a wise spiritual being having a human experience, and
yeah. Thank you.
the insight and wisdom that you bring is just outstanding. So thank
Thank
you
you. Wow, what a
so
reflection.
much.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You're next
Thank
level,
you.
Jay. Yeah, and
Thank
thank you for
you.
bringing this
Thank you.
forward and having this calling because it is quite a
Yeah.
calling.
It
Yeah,
is a calling. It is a calling. And I think I realized that in all of this, like bringing people together and facilitating, it's a gift.
it
And
is
I'm like, yeah, that's a gift. Thank you, God. I appreciate that. But
beautiful.
I've done that all my life. And I think now I'm starting to really like, oh, okay, this is good. I like this. It's cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Andrea.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
my pleasure.
Everybody, thank you so much for dialing in to Harness the Shift. Truly appreciate you dialing in and taking the time to sit down and listen to the wisdom that is given in this episode and every other episode that we've had. And the future's bright, and there are so many folks that are doing great things, and be one of those people and step into your journey, and you won't regret it. I promise you. You are supported. I will have you know that you are definitely supported. We want you out here. And so thanks for listening. And until next time, harness the shift. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you to our guest today. And if you would like to learn more about their work, all their links will be located in the podcast description. A quick shout out to our sponsor, LifeWave. I am a brand partner. These patches support energy, recovery, and overall wellness, and you can find out more about them under the central link in my bio, the Hooby link, HOO.B/harness the shift with Jay. All my offerings, including my coaching program when it's released, plus my contact information and social media links, are also available there, as well as in the podcast description. Thanks again for listening. I am Jay. I'll see you next episode on Harness the Shift.